everyone, Ruber here. So, big news from Japan. In October, Japan chose a new Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi. And yes, she's officially the first female Prime Minister in Japan's history. Pretty amazing, right? Now, since Prime Minister Takaichi took office, there have already been some changes that could affect foreign visitors coming to Japan. You might have even seen some of this in the international news. In today's video, I'm going to break down what her leadership might mean for travelers and how it could shape your next trip to Japan. We'll also take a closer look at how Japan itself is changing right now, Japan's current relationship with China, and Takaichi's background and what she represents in Japanese politics. All right then, let's dive in. Sanae Takaichi becomes Prime Minister of Japan. What is the future of travel to Japan? I'll explain the details later, but after Takaichi became Prime Minister, the Chinese government began strongly criticizing the Japanese government. And this reaction has started to affect not only politics, but also Japan's economy. First, the Chinese government is claiming that public safety in Japan has worsened, and they are urging Chinese citizens to avoid traveling to Japan. As a result, many flights from China to Japan have been canceled. So, has public safety in Japan really gotten worse? What I want to make very clear is this: public safety in Japan has not worsened. Nothing has changed in the way Japanese people think or behave just because Takaichi became Prime Minister. You can enjoy your trip to Japan with the same sense of safety as before. On the other hand, one major change happening in Japan right now is that the number of Chinese tourists is decreasing. Because of the Chinese government's guidance, many people in China are canceling their trips to Japan. And this situation may make your stay in Japan more comfortable. In recent years, Japan has become extremely popular as a travel destination, and despite its small size, many tourist spots have been crowded with foreign visitors. A large portion of them were travelers from China. But now, with fewer visitors coming from China, travelers from other countries may find tourist spots much calmer and easier to enjoy. Tourist misbehavior. Recently in Japan, the issue of misbehavior among foreign tourists has been getting a lot of attention. Of course, this kind of behavior isn't limited to any single country. However, in Japan, many people say that misbehavior by Chinese tourists has stood out the most over the past few years. There are two main reasons for this. The first reason is simply that the number of Chinese tourists visiting Japan is extremely large. Because there are so many, it's easy for people to feel like most cases of misbehavior involve Chinese tourists. This is also a kind of bias, so Japanese people and Japanese businesses do not change their treatment based on nationality. The second reason is that some Chinese visitors have engaged in malicious actions that hurt the dignity of Japanese people, and these incidents have spread on social media. It seems there are people who record themselves doing things that insult Japan just to get attention on Chinese social platforms. For example, burning the Japanese flag at formal or symbolic locations, making reservations at multiple restaurants, and canceling all of them without notice. These are actions done with the intention of causing trouble for Japanese people. It's completely natural for cultures and manners to differ, and Japanese people understand that and want travelers to enjoy their time here. But actions that insult Japan or hurt the dignity of Japanese people are something that cannot be accepted. Many Japanese people feel negatively about this kind of behavior, and this problem has existed long before Takaichi became Prime Minister. And now, with Takaichi taking office, the conflict between Japan and China has become more visible on the surface. There are some Japanese people who actually welcome this situation because they have felt troubled for a long time by visitors who come to Japan with bad intentions. Japanese people warmly welcome all foreign visitors. But of course, that welcome is for people who come with respect and goodwill toward Japan and its people. And honestly, that's the same in any country. The Takaichi administration versus the Chinese government. Who is Sanae Takaichi? The reason the Chinese government is criticizing the Takaichi administration so intensely begins with one official comment made by Takaichi herself. Speaking on behalf of the Japanese government, Takaichi said, "If China and Taiwan were to enter a state of war, it would be a critical situation for Japan as well. In that case, the United States might respond with military force." The Chinese government appears to have taken this statement as a provocation. For China, the Taiwan issue is considered an internal matter, and they strongly reject any involvement or commentary from other countries. At first glance, it may seem like Takaichi stepped directly into the Taiwan issue, but in reality, she was simply talking about a general security concern. Specifically, what could happen to Japan if a conflict occurred nearby? She did not comment on whether China or Taiwan was right or wrong. So why is the Chinese government reacting this strongly? One major reason lies in Takaichi's background. Takaichi was one of the most important and trusted aides to former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Because of that, she is seen as a politician who strongly follows Abe's political ideas and direction. Traditionally, Japan wasn't very proactive in building broad international relationships, but the Abe administration changed that significantly. Abe expanded Japan's diplomacy on a wide scale, strengthening ties with the United States, Europe, India, the Middle East, Canada, Australia, and many Asian countries. He also had a personal relationship with Russia's President Vladimir Putin. Among all these relationships, one of the most notable was that Abe was considered the foreign leader closest to U.S. President Donald Trump. Takaichi has publicly stated that she will continue Abe's approach. The Chinese government is worried that Japan's relationship with the United States will become even stronger. Today's President Trump promotes an America First policy and has changed many of the country's previous diplomatic strategies. There are very few foreign leaders who are personally close to him. In this situation, the possibility that Takaichi might form a special relationship with President Trump is something the Chinese government views with concern. Since Takaichi was Abe's most important subordinate, it is entirely possible she will also develop strong ties with the United States. For China, the United States is its biggest rival, and Japan, right next door geographically, is extremely important. So it is understandable that China does not welcome the idea of Japan becoming even closer to the United States. Because of this, the Chinese government is showing strong caution and criticism toward the Takaichi administration. Right now, the Japanese and Chinese governments are in a tense situation, but daily life in Japan has not changed in any major way. And most Japanese people continue to welcome travelers who come to Japan with goodwill. This is the current situation in Japan. How was it? Here on Earth Japan, we share videos to help anyone who wants to enjoy traveling in Japan. I hope to see you again in the next video. See you! Sayonara!